Have you ever heard any of those stories that surround the Denver airport? If you haven't, I'm sure you're gonna have fun down that rabbit hole. Anyway, I have an interesting little glitch story, and of course, it happens to surround the Denver airport. But it's totally different than all of the other things I'm sure you'll come across about that airport. So this person writes that they were living in Denver and their friend was flying into the Denver airport to visit. The Denver National Airport was about 30 minutes away, and their friend was scheduled to land at 11:15 p.m. But at exactly 10:30 p.m., they received a text message from this friend that was supposed to be on the flight, and it said, "I just landed, are you here?" So they assumed her flight just landed early, so they started to scramble and get ready and get out the door to make the trip over to the airport. While they were on their way, they called this friend just to confirm, and it went straight to voicemail. She thinks maybe her phone died or something. But what was even weirder still was while they were driving to the airport, they kept refreshing the flight info, and it said that the plane was still in transit. So they end up getting to the airport earlier than 11:15, but they can't get a hold of their friend, and everything says that the plane is still in transit. So they start circling the airport and waiting for any sign from their friend. And then right around 11:15, she gets a text message from that friend. And it was the exact same text message that she received at 10:30. So now she has two identical text messages in her phone. One was timestamped for 10:30 and the other one was around 11:15. So she calls her friend again and it rings and she picks up right away. She asked her friend, "Did you text me from on the plane?" And her friend said, "No, because my phone was off. I turned my phone off for the flight." So when she finally meets up with her, she asks to see her phone and she wanted to compare text conversations. And sure enough, while her phone had the two different timestamps on messages, her friend only had one sent out at 11:15. Her friend also confirmed that she did not previously type the message out just waiting to hit send. There was no way that she could have typed out that message. Her phone was completely off. She only did that once the plane landed. She said that this glitch in the Matrix made her waste 15 minutes of her life circling the airport. What do you guys think? Glitch in the Matrix? Or let me know what your thoughts are on a more rational explanation. And if you haven't already done so, please follow for more creepy story time.
There are parts of the Pacific Northwest that virtually remain unexplored. There are areas where no man has probably set foot in. And you have to think that there could be potentially undiscovered new species or animals that exist in this region that most of us have never seen before. Now, this story comes out of the Pacific Northwest. There was this man who worked as a search and rescue. And he said that this one particular time, he was doing a search and rescue operation in the Olympia forest. And said a hiker had got lost off one of the trails and had been missing for a couple days. They ended up in this very remote area of the forest. And he said he just remembered when his search team got into this area, they were seeing plants and flowers and things that they had never seen before. He said it almost appeared like it was some sort of prehistoric world. That's when he started to hear a moaning sound. And he followed this sound to a fallen down tree trunk. And he said inside of it was this man who was in very bad shape. So they helped get this guy out of the tree trunk and they put him in like this carrier. As they were carrying him out of the forest, he starts screaming like, "They're giant centipedes, giant centipedes." He said, "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" And he said the guy said that there were these 7-foot, 8-foot tall creatures. So he seen one of them take a deer and just drag it away. And he kept going on and on about these creatures in the woods. As they're taking this guy out of the forest, he said that they could hear scurrying sounds and they could hear these loud hissing sounds. And it was really, really kind of terrifying. They managed to get him out of there. And he said a couple weeks later, he goes and visits this guy. And he asked him, he says, "Hey, these things you've seen in the woods, like, could you draw a picture of what you like think they look like?" So he said this guy jotted down an image. And in the picture, he said, it looked like this very huge centipede. So he goes on the internet and he started doing some research and he finds that this guy drew an exact picture of a prehistoric animal that had lived in the region hundreds of thousands of years ago. This next story takes place near Mount Rainier. He said they were doing a search and rescue operation up in the mountains. And so that's when his search team, they came into this area that they hadn't really been before. That's when they discovered all of these stairs that were running down the mountainside. Said they were just like amazing stonework. And there was all this art and drawings on the staircase. And he had no idea what they went to, what they belonged to, like where they came from. They said they looked like they had been there for hundreds of years. So that night, they set up camp right around this area. And he said at nighttime, they witnessed these orbs of light climbing up the stairs. And then when they would get to the top, they would disappear. Many months later, he said he tried to go on his own and find this place. And he could not relocate where these stairs were. But he is one of several people who have mentioned finding strange staircases in this area.
Have you ever gone into an antique store or an old thrift store and just got like a really weird feeling being in there? Anytime I've ever gone in one of those, I just get this heavy, unnerving feeling. And 9 times out of 10, I don't bring anything home with me. This next story reminds me of that. Creepy story time. In a small Louisiana town, a couple went into one of those old antique shops. The wife was drawn to this tall, intricately carved wooden framed mirror. She told her husband this would look perfect in our hallway. So they brought it home and hung it up that night. And that's when he noticed the first change. She kept walking by the mirror and stopping and staring longer than you'd expect. At first he joked with her about being vain, but then he noticed that the way she would stare into the mirror wasn't like someone would normally look at their self. She wasn't fixing her hair or looking at her clothes. She was just blank staring. No thank you. And it just kept getting worse. Within days, she'd wake up being more tired than the night before when she went to bed. She was restless and snapping at him all the time, and her skin started to look really pale, kind of like she wasn't outside in the sun for weeks. He'd ask her what was wrong, and she said she was fine and that she probably just needed more sleep. So one night, he woke up to the sound of creaking floorboards. So he got up out of bed and he went to the door to go look out into the hallway to see what was making the noise, and he saw his wife standing there in the dark, staring at herself in this mirror. So he called out her name and she didn't even flinch or react. She just kept on staring into the mirror and she just said, "It doesn't look like me anymore." Not exactly. Then over the next week, it got even worse and she started refusing to eat. The final straw was when he decided that's enough and he started to take the mirror down. She started freaking out. She begged him not to take it down, pleaded with him, so he just stopped and backed away. He said up until now, she's never been quite the same, and he desperately wants to get this mirror out of there, but he